welcome to Cyber Conversations. I'm Janet Caldow, and my guest today is Marc Strassman, who is President and CEO of VoteSite.com. Welcome to Washington, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. First, tell us a little bit. Well, actually, you're also Executive Director of the Campaign for Digital Democracy, and
right.
I know people are really interested in what's happening in California and your work in terms of online voting. And just yesterday, I read something on the petition and the signatures. So
Right.
you want to start, and we'll talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Right now, what Campaign for Digital Democracy is working on is something called the California Internet Voting Initiative, the CIVI. And it has essentially two parts. One says Internet voting, voting on the Internet is legal, and it sets out the procedures in order to implement it. And it also says that the Department of Motor Vehicles of the state of California will be required to issue to every person in California over 18 years old a digital certificate.
So this is pending legislation?
Well, it's a pending initiative.
Okay.
It's being worked on by the Office of Legislative Counsel. When they're done with it, it goes to the State Attorney General's office for a title and summary. After that, it's going to come back to me and the Campaign for Digital Democracy. We're going to put it on the internet at votesite.com. And we're going to ask people to digitally sign it. And then we're going to see if that's going to be good enough under existing California law, particularly the digital signature law and regulations that have just been put through, to use digital certificates and digital signatures to qualify an initiative petition for the ballot. In fact, I'm in Washington now, and we'll be speaking tomorrow at the Initiative and Referendum Conference, explaining in more detail what we have in mind, which is to either use digital signatures with the consent of the registrars of voters, or to take it to court and get that authority from the courts. Okay,
so it doesn't have to go through the state legislature then?
The initiative.
This is something that can happen outside if this is successful?
You mean the legal, which? The passage of the California Internet Voting Initiative, or the use of digital signatures to qualify the California Internet Voting Initiative for the ballot?
There are actually two issues then that may.
Right. Well, essentially there are three issues. There's Internet voting. There's the issuance of digital certificates by the state of California through private sector contractors. And the acceptability of digital signatures on initiative petitions, including especially and starting with the California Internet Voting Initiative petition that we're really trying to bootstrap the process by passing a law that says it will be legal to use the internet for voting and for initiative signature gathering, and we're hoping to be able to move forward without any additional legislation in this area, because the California system has proven a little recalcitrant in doing that.
Yeah. So what is your projected time frame for this to happen through?
I expect that
summertime or
right. Well, right. The Office of Legislative Counsel has said it will have the finished language for the initiative ready in a week or so, and then the Attorney General has to look at it. I don't know how long that could take, 4 to 6 weeks, maybe longer. When that's done, there's nothing stopping us from putting it on the internet in July or so. Maybe the 4th of July would be a good day to put it up if we could. And then to start gathering signatures. Our plan is to collect a few signatures digitally and then submit those petitions to registrars of voters in various counties in California and see if they'll accept them. And if they do, then we'll continue to collect signatures digitally. And if not, we'll probably go to court to see if we have the right to do that. At the Initiative
I didn't realize that was the process. That's neat.
Right. At the Initiative and Referendum Conference, there will be many people who are circulating initiatives in their own states, and I'm going to be trying to recruit as many of them as I can to do similar efforts to collect digitally signed initiative petitions in their own states.
Now, the other area I've read about recently is, in fact, we had a group from New Zealand here at the Institute telling us, is New Zealand going to be the first country to have to pilot a national election for the country, or give us and what your relationship is with New Zealand?
Cruising the internet one day, I met someone named Rex Wiederstrom, who's a political consultant, has been a political consultant to several political parties in New Zealand, and there are plenty of political parties in New Zealand, apparently. And we got to talking, by talking I mean sending email back and forth, about getting a digital voting project going in New Zealand. And he had particularly strong views about how unrepresentative of the existing government was and how it would be a good idea to do something about it. So we talked about it for a while and ended up establishing the New Zealand electronic electoral trial, which can be reached at
that's
his
the
website.
NEES,
That's NZEAT.
NZEAT, yeah, I knew that.
People can find that at www.polemic.net /NZEAT, NZEET.html. That's the site for the project. And essentially, we've outlined the steps to have a complete digital election in New Zealand using about 25,000 volunteer voters. And if we get back to it, my company, votesite.com, is working on developing an internet voting system that will be secure and so on. And presumably, NZEAT has been having trouble raising the money to organize the trial. And so my company, should we be able to get our system going soon enough, will probably provide it for them so that they can do that test. If it is done there, it would be the first nationwide test of a internet voting system anywhere in the world.
Yeah. We had, I guess it's been almost a year, we had just about all 50 secretaries of state who were meeting in Washington and came over for an event here at the Institute. And I know there's a lot of interest on the online voting. They tended to think it was probably going to be a few years, and I believe the state of Tennessee is thinking about doing voter registration first, particularly here in the United States where registration is voluntary, not in many other countries it's mandatory, but in order to increase voter participation and so forth. And I think they were talking about same day as voting day registration, so you don't have to register 6 weeks in advance or so forth. I don't know where some of the states are on that, but there was a lot of interest from the...
There are some reforms like that going on in California as well. There's an assemblyman named Robert Hertzberg who's introducing a instant registration bill and a vote on weekends bill. The city of Santa Monica just had an election on Saturday and Sunday. I don't think any of those efforts, well-intentioned and positive as they are, will go far enough to increase the really abysmal levels of participation.
Right.
In the city of Los Angeles, there was an election in 1997 to elect people to a commission to write a new charter for the city of Los Angeles for the first time in 70 years. About 16% of the population voted in those elections, meaning 8% of the people or so determines who writes the charter. And I think that, given that the lowest rates of participation are among the people who are the groups that have the highest rate of internet participation, it seems to me that if the goal is to increase political participation, by which we mean in this case voting in elections, that the best way to proceed to do that is to allow people to vote over the internet.
Yeah.
And it's not as though the technologies to allow internet voting are things that have to be invented out of whole cloth anymore. They are, almost every one of them is being used in other ways now, in e-commerce, in informal polling, in any number of different functions that are allowed on the internet or that flourish on the internet. And with all respect to the secretaries of state who believe that this is inevitable but we can't do it yet, I think we could do it now and that we ought to do it now.
Do you think, it sounds like or from what I've read and the research we're doing around the world, I think there are a number of components to this in terms of increasing voter registration and voter turnout, along with all the other benefits of decreasing fraud. I mean, when we went from the voice ballot to the paper and then paper to the voting machine, there was a lot of turmoil in each of those transitions.
Right.
So I think there will be as we go make this progression to the internet. But it seems to me it's the voting is one piece to make it easier, especially with people traveling and very busy schedules and so forth.
Absolutely.
I think it will affect it. But the other piece is the information about the candidates and how it's really changing. And we started, I think we saw the beginnings in the 98 election, so that the very successful use of the internet by like Jeb Bush and Jesse Ventura and Barbara Boxer in California. And how that will change from the 30-second TV clips that may be the only image you have of your candidate and what they stand for, versus where you can. So you want to talk a little bit about how those pieces
mesh with each other. A friend of mine, Tracy Weston, runs the Center for Government Studies out of USC in Los Angeles, and also is the director or coordinator for DNET, Democracy Net, which provides a great deal of video and audio information of candidates as they run through office. And we were on a program a little like this in Santa Monica, and we were discussing how there was a synergy between allowing people to get more information about candidates on the internet and allowing them to vote over the internet. Right. So essentially it can be, it's one-stop shopping for politics in a sense. Yeah. There are also methods. Bill Bradley's campaign is now applying to the Federal Elections Commission to allow it to get matching presidential funds for funds that it collects over the internet.
Oh, so I had not heard that before.
Right. So it's happening all along the political front that efforts are being made to get the political system to accommodate itself to the capabilities of the new technology.
Right.
This is the FCC and its efforts to regulate telecommunications as telecommunications converges from telephones, television, cable, satellite, and so on, is one example of that. The technology is moving so fast, and the capabilities that it sets up are so unprecedented, and the models that it's shattering are so numerous that government, whose job it is to regulate this, is not even sure what the terms of the discussion are in many cases. That's why I think in order to bring government up to speed in this whole process of accommodating itself to technology, it needs to use that technology as a means of forming itself, of getting its candidates elected. Something I hadn't really thought of until just now, though, candidates who can do this and use this better than candidates who can't will have an advantage.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Hubert Humphrey once said the worst mistake he ever made in his life was he didn't learn to master the use of television.
Right.
So, I mean, I think as we shift to this new medium.
And so if government is going to be both representative and efficient in dealing with the realities of an accelerating technological transformation, it needs to have as its participant, as people participating in the elections and the elected representatives both, need to be conversant with and capable of using and good at using the capability of the internet to get themselves elected as well as to govern.
Yeah, because I think part of the poor turnout is education and information, and then the how easy it is to vote.
Right. And in terms of education, I've often pictured what will happen if everything goes digital except for elections, in which case education, if all of the methods that are being pioneered here at the IBM Center were put into place, and we would have people who shop and go to school and communicate and get government services all by internet. But when it comes time to vote, they have to get up out of their home office recreational center and go figure out where the polls are and fill out pieces of paper.
If they're even home that week.
If they're even home that week, if they're not doing this from some exotic locale, and then deal with it. So Bill Gates just wrote a book called Business at the Speed of Thought. We need to have government at the speed of thought and politics at the speed of thought, too. Otherwise, the business sector and the entertainment sector and the sports sector, all of which use this technology very well for their own ends, will overwhelm the government sector. And that also means overwhelm the ability of the citizens organized through the government to have an impact on the way the world is run. And I don't think that would be a good idea.
Well, I thank you very much for joining us today. I think we're going to see this topic of digital democracy and all of the implications and the components really come of age in the next, when you say a couple of years, that means, web years, 3 months, and over the next month.
I'm looking forward to come of age tomorrow afternoon after I give my speech to the internet.
Yes, and we will be very interested in following up. If any of you have comments, interested in more information, if you'll send an email where you see it on the Cybercast studio page, we'll be happy to put you in touch with Mark and follow his work and take it from there. So thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.